Why have Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger announced their withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States? And what does it mean for us here in Ghana? My guest is Dean and Director for Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Dr. Valdimir Antwi Danso. Are you surprised by this move?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Some time back when the Niger coup happened, I don't know whether it is your station or other sister stations, interviewed me, and I warned that if indeed we went ahead and attacked Niger to restore Bazoum's government, we were making preparations for the implosion of ECOWAS. Because at that time, they were very much resolved. Burkina had shown solidarity and Mali had shown solidarity. So if you went into Niger, you were antagonizing three of your very good neighbors. And that resolve showed that we needed more diplomacy than threat. But ECOWAS went on still threatening, giving them timetables that were unrealistic. In a week's time, get back, bring the man back. You don't do that. It was not a conspiratorial coup where some riffraffs and platoon mates in training just got together and made a coup and wanted to stay in power. This is what we call in our studies systemic coups. Systemic coups are coups that save a nation from implosion. If there is instability, say, throughout this country altogether, the military is the only institution that has the mandate to restore order. So you see that of late, the coups that are happening in West Africa are made by generals. And there is no bloodshed. And they are popular. Unlike those days when sergeants make coups in West Africa. Those were conspiratorial coups. So ECOWAS needed to be more meticulous in their understanding of the issues and the methodology that they would use in trying to bring back the ballot. And I also hated the situation where people thought the ballot stops the bullet. It's never true. The ballot, democracy, then the bullet stops. It doesn't make that way. For democracy to come back, you needed a meticulous attention to details about institutionalism, trying to build institutions of state that rule the country, not the ballot. We voted for Antwi Danso, he's now back as a civilian government. And then we say, hooray. No. And that's what I was warning. So I'm not surprised at all. They are fed up. And they believe that ECOWAS is like, what do you call that thing the commanders of orchestras use? The stick.
It's a baton?
A baton or whatever it is for French and American or Western kind of orchestra. You know.
In their joint statement, the leaders of these three countries claim to be betrayed by ECOWAS, and they feel that ECOWAS is working under foreign influence. Are they justified?
That is exactly what I have just said. My last statement is just what you have repeated. They feel betrayed. We are in a union, and I have a problem. The union must take my problem as their problem. That's the essence of unity. That's the essence of integration. But if I have a problem and you denounce me, you give me to the wolves, you know, our desire to go to Niger would have inured to the benefit of the French and the Americans, not to ECOWAS.
And now the French have been kicked out of all three countries.
Oh yes, and that is they had a resolve to kick them out. They've kicked out the French. They've kicked out the UN itself. They've kicked out the EU, and all those countries that were present in these countries. They've kicked them out.
Before we talk about what the effect of this action will have on Ghana, what do you think the reaction will be from, say, the US, France, and even Russia?
Let us not make a mistake. When such situations happen, US, France, EU, and those countries you are mentioning are always looking at their interests. What would they do to be able to get back or to get the new dispensation inured to their benefit? That's all they'll be thinking about. The US will be thinking about how to maybe go through ECOWAS and get the countries back to normalcy and how they can get bases there, left, right, center. That would be the interest of the US. For France, the loss of these three countries is not good for them. So they'll also be looking at a way back. look at a situation where, after the coup in Niger, the Nigerian authorities moved the price of uranium from 80 cents a kilo to 200 euros a kilo. Straight. They ordered, and it's working. And because of that, if you read the World Economic Outlook, Niger is going to be, for 2024-25, is going to be one of the fastest growing economies, not only in West Africa, but the world. From 80 cents, look at how they were being cheated all along. So they know what they're doing, and they're believing that ECOWAS must be helping them emancipate from the doldrums of suppression by the Western powers.
What do you think Russia's response will be to this one? Because analysts say that these people are close to Russia now.
In international politics, the joy of your enemy is something you don't like, but the joy of your friend is always your joy. Russia will be basking in the glory that Mali is saying, because of the presence of Wagner, for example, they've been able to push the jihadists far off to the borders with Algeria. They are warning Algeria not to let them back.
And how would you describe Wagner? It's like it's state-sponsored?
No, well, it is state-sponsored, but it's a private military company. Let us know that we're making so much noise about Wagner, but private military organizations started long ago, even during Napoleonic times. They are there. And they are now being properly used by countries. America used Blackwater in Iraq and that kind of thing. So it's a phenomenon that has come to stay. And Wagner is doing well in Gabon too. You know,
how do you mean doing well?
In the sense that the Gabonese government is saying they are proud, they are happy with them. You know, whereas other media houses are also reporting atrocities. You know, so I strongly believe that Russia will be very happy to see this situation unfolding. Was it a week ago? The Chadian head of state, Ahmad Idris, was in Putin's office. They were chatting happily, and it shows that, well, what is happening in the West African sub-region or the Sahelian region is something good for Russia.
So now you have Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, all founding members of ECOWAS,
Yes.
withdrawing from this union in the 49th year of its creation,
Yes.
and setting up their own Sahel State Alliance
Yes.
to deal with their own common interests. What does this do to ECOWAS?
Well, if ECOWAS does not get them back, it jeopardizes our march forward towards the union that we wanted, a common currency, free movement of goods and persons, an EU-like kind of ECOWAS that we all wanted, all right? One Africa, a community of peoples, and all those beautiful ideals that ECOWAS had. This will be jolted seriously. Because if they are able to get these Sahelian states into a union, and if gradually they become like ECOWAS, an ECOWAS-like union, then it means all ECOWAS countries become third countries to that union. In terms of trade, in terms of transactions, in terms of everything.
You know, I'm looking at the borders,
Yes.
and I see that Mali shares borders with Senegal, Guinea, and Cote d'Ivoire.
Yes.
Burkina shares borders with Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Benin. And Niger shares borders with Benin and Nigeria.
Yes.
All these countries are currently ECOWAS states. And if these Sahelian countries decide...
It tears ECOWAS apart.
So if
It
I'm going
makes
to
it-
Burkina, if
it
I'm going to do
ma-
business with Burkina now, if this should hold, what does that mean for a Ghanaian businessman?
It means you are a third country. You are going into the union. You see, between the three of them is 1 and 2. Any person from any country from here wanting to do business with any of the countries, you are a third country. So it means tariff barriers to you. It means a whole lot of regulations against you. You know, so that is what it means. It means you are not part of the common external tariff that they have. Among the three of them, they will have a common external tariff. They will have barriers removed between them and amongst them, and then they will have rules and regulations that inure to the benefit of enhancing trade amongst the three. But if you want to trade with them, you are a third party. And therefore, all the barriers to trade come against you.
Should we be expecting the price of onions in Ghana
To go high.
to go up,
Of
just
course.
like the uranium went up?
Exactly. We expect, not that they would even announce, but the very fact that they are a different union from our union will raise prices from imports, and our exports also will have to be paying higher before they get into their markets.
Let's talk a little bit about security. So, and I'm looking at the mass, the land size. I mean,
Yes.
for these three countries alone, it's about 2.78 million
Yes.
square kilometers,
Square
out of 3.8 million square kilometers for the whole of ECOWAS. That's 73% of ECOWAS gone and acting as a union. What does that mean in terms of security, the fight against jihadists and terrorism, instability?
It means a lot. It means these countries are now going to think about their own security and not your security. So if there are infiltrations from their end against you, they wouldn't care. But one thing is coming clear, that in integration, Festus Abachi has written about it, several others have written, we have commented on that, that integration can never be successful without community security. We tried that in ECOMOG. You know, building economic union, and you need a security to back it, because all these hiccups that we are seeing, if we were having a standby force or an ECOMOG-like kind of situation, these things would not happen. But now that we don't have it, and they are building theirs, it means we have to make sure that we take care of our security as also their security, one way or the other.
As of yesterday, ECOWAS said they had not received any formal notice
Yes.
of this withdrawal. Yes. And by ECOWAS's own regulations, you need to give a 1-year notice before you parachute out of
Exactly.
the community. Yes. Where do we stand now?
Well, remember, these countries are being led by juntas, soldiers. So they just jumped out and said, we are out.
As if they're bailing out of an airplane.
Exactly. As if they are jumping out of a plane, parachuting out of a plane. Fine. And this is where ECOWAS should show maturity. And I like the tone of the communique. They say they would like to talk to them, etc. That's what we should have been doing long ago.
So they've now seen the light?
Probably. They've seen that these people mean business. And if we don't take care, we shoot ourselves in the foot. So, and my warning, and I've warned since morning, I've been talking to some stations, including French Canal International. I've been warning, and I keep warning, and let them listen carefully. Let them not use any of the heads of state of ECOWAS, or even African heads of states. I'm not talking about foreign heads of state, no. Let them use what we call in diplomacy track 2 diplomacy, where you use eminent people whom the people will respect.
So just a few for me.
When Kenya, the problem started, we used Kofi Annan. He talks and he's better than any head of state. Ibn Chambers, these people will listen to Ibn Chambers more than they will listen to Ouattara, whom ECOWAS didn't say anything to, but when I have a coup, you want to. So it's like, is it a club of civilian heads of state? They wouldn't respect such persons. And I'm pleading, please use the Chamberses, use the Victor Behos. They are still alive. And they are well revered. There is another person in Cote d'Ivoire, I've forgotten the name. He was the last OAU, one of the OAU something. And these persons matter a lot where diplomacy is concerned. When they talk, it moves. They talk, move things. But if you send Ouattara, like we did send Ouattara to Mali, it was a joke. Here is a person who usurped the constitution to have a third term. You didn't say anything. I have usurped constitution through the barrel of the gun, and you send Ouattara to me to come and talk to me, to put the gun away. I mean, come on, was ECOWAS really serious? So let them not send Ouattara to go and talk to anybody. Let them not send Tinubu,
the Nigerian head.
The Nigerian head.
Because they already have issues with Niger, with the electricity power and
not only that,
and other
he
things.
was leading the front. That when ECOWAS was delaying, he was prepared even to send Nigerian troops until his generals told him, we are not going. Until Parliament told him, we are not funding the thing. Such a person would he be listened to? So let not ECOWAS make the mistake of trying to say we are sending a high-powered delegation, and you see it being led by Ouattara.
On the ground, for a Ghanaian living on the border with Cote d'Ivoire, Hamile, or any of the towns and communities there, what would change with this decision now that Burkina says they are out of ECOWAS?
You mean Ghanaian border with...
yes, with Burkina.
Burkina.
Yes.
In the interim, nothing might change, but very soon they will see things changing in terms of security, in terms of trade, tariffs. Things would change. They will see prices going up, the very things they trade in. They will see, because of security...
So maybe cattle and things
exactly,
start going up.
Everything will be going up. And then they will see some checks from the other side, hyping, you know. And then they will ask themselves, what has happened? No, they are no longer ECOWAS. That's what has happened.
What should be Ghana's position?
Ghana should continue to play the role of mediator, you know, to be the dove when the hawks want to attack these countries or talking ill about these countries and hard on these countries.
Are we a dove now, or we're hawks?
We were part of the hawks when the whole thing started. I could remember our own head of state, the anger he showed when the coups came. You know, I haven't forgotten the facial expression, you know. And it's to be expected. We think democracy should be everywhere. But as I've said, if you don't build the basic carpets for democracy, don't try to put anything on the carpet and call it a democracy to be wiped away. We in Ghana had the luxury of tolerating dictatorship for over 11 years, all right? If between 1981, 82, and 92, anybody had attempted to force Jerry Rawlings out, there would have been more chaos in Ghana. We tolerated and built institutions that ruled Jerry Rawlings. We started building our institutions, which gradually incepted the proper democracy that we have now. But if you don't have anything on the ground, and you say, oh, the gun is not good, put the gun down and let's have democracy. We have elected Antwi Danso, president of Niger. What have you done? What have you done amidst the instability even in the place? You are going to talk about human rights when jihadists are fighting.
Rule of law.
Rule of law. Come on, give me a break. So these are the realities on the ground which ECOWAS should understand. The word is understand. I wasn't happy when I saw my own very good friend Musa, Dr. Musa, ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs or whatever it is, brandishing a finger and warning that ECOWAS was moving, ECOWAS was going, we were going to Niger.
What was ECOWAS standing on? They say if a blind man is going to stone you, he's standing on something. What was ECOWAS standing on?
I don't know. We were virtually on a quicksand. Because I said we couldn't even go. Look, at that point, you needed 3 times the military of Niger to be able to conquer them in a swift move like that. You need your contingency plan. You need what did we have? But we thought Nigerian army is close by, so they could. But in all, they are smart. They have intelligence. All I deciphered was that the French needed an action from ECOWAS and then they would take over. Because they have a base over there. They just needed a semblance of some instability. And then they help ECOWAS and they say ECOWAS has been able to restore Bazoum.
With hindsight, do you think this withdrawal was pre-planned? I mean, get the French out, and then we get out of the ECOWAS. And you think it was pre-planned?
Well, I don't think if events one after the other have led to where we are now. They saw the aggressive nature of ECOWAS. You've threatened them. You've banned them from anything that they would get from ECOWAS.
And there were sanctions too against Niger.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. Yeah. Those sanctions and that kind of thing. And they are suffering, and there's nobody coming on their aid. Meanwhile, the French and the Americans are on their necks, so get out. When you are out, then we can have our own decision. Then the next thing is how to tackle ECOWAS. Are we getting anything? Why can't we get out of this one also? You know. But there is a possibility, like you said. If blind man says, I'm throwing a stone at you, then there is a possibility that he's gotten one hidden somewhere. perhaps China and Russia may want to come in as swiftly as possible to help, assist, or they may be behind. We don't know yet. I have no evidence. But naturally, geopolitics will tell you that this is possible.
Should we be concerned about a contagion of military takeovers and unrest across West Africa? I mean, you look at the band of Sahel countries, and they cover, these three countries alone cover 73% of ECOWAS.
Yes, yes.
And so the civilian governments in the ECOWAS region, should they be nervous?
They should be nervous, because everything that leads to coups are in most of the countries. You remember when you interviewed me the last time, I warned that Sierra Leone was a candidate. Chad was a candidate. I mentioned Gabon. That time Gabon hadn't come. I mentioned Gabon. I mentioned Equatorial Guinea. I also mentioned even Senegal. So there are the ingredients over there were just ready.
You didn't mention Ghana, though.
No, I didn't mention Ghana, because the ingredients. You see, when for a thing to happen, you must have necessary and sufficient conditions. You may have all the necessary conditions. If they are not sufficient, nothing would happen. So we are not there where the necessary and the sufficient conditions will apply to a coup making in Ghana. It's not there. We are far away from. But what was happening in Senegal could have triggered any coup. You know, the third term bid, and then the withdrawal and the treatment of the opposition leader were all clear. You know, Sierra Leone, and you know, the attempted coup was there. You know, and again, how ECOWAS handled that thing, I don't think was the correct thing. So you see, when you do these things to your civilian counterparts, the military is watching. Here was a former president who has been charged for attempting a coup. ECOWAS goes in and said, give him to us, we are taking him to Nigeria. What is the democracy you are talking about? For me, ECOWAS would have done better if they had allowed the democratic process to go on. Let him go through the court process. If he's jailed or whatever it is, then you go in diplomatically to get him out. But right there, when the whole thing was on, you say, give him to us. Let us take him. They did the same thing to Charles Taylor. And that's exactly what I'm alluding to.
In your eyes, it looks like there are a lot of faux pas, missteps by ECOWAS.
A lot of missteps by ECOWAS.
What is causing this?
It's because either the heads of state are solely headed by their assembly and the chuckling of glasses and drinking champagne. I don't know whether they listen to experts and regionalists. There is a regional integration studies in Africa. It's a center here you can always, and there is one in Nigeria. You can always allow them to, you know. But honestly speaking, our heads of state and government, when they meet, a lot of the things that they will have to look at. And it's understandable if a greater percentage of your budget is paid by the EU, then what else do you expect? They will give you the menu on the plate, and then you eat that menu. And that's what is happening.
ECOWAS will be 50 years next year.
Exactly. It's unfortunate.
What's the future of this organization?
The future lies in how they understand integration. You know, integration is trade-induced. So trade intensity, everything that facilitates trade, we must do. Infrastructure, border, whatever it is, you know, tariff measures that you have to bring down and nail. Movement of goods and persons, and the creation of a common external tariff from where you have to, liberate factors of production. So how is factor mobility within the union? And then fasten your belts for a common currency. Very, very important. You know, if we had a common currency, and we are not doing anything to make the socio-economic partners of integration part of the movement. There are several people in Ghana who don't even know about ECOWAS. Where is the ECOWAS office in Accra? But you have a EU office. Where is the ECOWAS office in the capitals of West Africa? That you could go there and say, I'm doing research, ECOWAS office. We have WAMI, that's good.
West African Monetary Institute.
Institute, yes. But where is the ECOWAS office like? Where is even AU office? We are joking with integration in Africa, honestly speaking.
These generals who are in charge of their countries, what's the mood of their citizens after this declaration of
They
withdrawal?
love them. They loathe them. I mean, the point is this, that when there is a
Go ahead. Yeah, it's almost
when
done.
there is a yes, I have to go. When there is a new wave, a new breath of, when you are breathing something new, a new air, it's appealing. And the people just feel that, well, some liberators have come. It may be false, but a new wave, a new breeze is blowing. You would want to at least put your nose there and feel the breeze. So look, it is popular. There's popular sentiment in all these 3 countries. And I'm not surprised that what is happening is happening. The people have been gingered to support whatever the juntas are doing. Now they put their 3 countries together. And remember, the Fulanis cut across all the 3. And the Hausas cut across. So you see, it's easier to get them going. They have a common language, French. They have a common currency already. The thing ECOWAS has been struggling for 50 years. They have it already. And I would not be surprised if they quickly name it the ECO. What ECOWAS has been fighting for all along. They say we have gotten, because they are annoyed with France, they may take away the CFA and call it ECO. Man, they are 1 million miles away ahead of ECOWAS if they did that today. A common currency flying across the 3 countries. Ghana will even go and change the CD for the new ECO. So we should be very careful as to how we treat them and how we talk to them. And if there is anything for them to come back to, then they must see something new. They are not coming back to the old waters.
Finally, can you make any predictions about what the way forward will be?
I can predict that ECOWAS would go and they will be snubbed. I can predict that the juntas will put their efforts together, fight hard, but they will not succeed because they are among the 12 poorest countries in West Africa, the poorest countries in the world. Integration is not a joke. It needs funding. It needs efforts. Just sheer bravado and will is not enough for integration. You need solid funding, solid base, solid backing. The CFA was backed by the French treasury. How are they going to back themselves?
The uranium and other raw materials?
But in what currency? Unless they find a new currency through gold or that kind of thing. Because you cannot suppress the people. You cannot make your people suffer. You promise them that there's going to be light. If they succeed, I tell you, they will be a better destiny than ECOWAS. But I can't foresee success because of the nature of their economies. You see, weak, dwindling economies, stagnating economies. The uranium is bringing this thing. Gold is now up in Mali. But then, these are not enough. They need strong, high infrastructure, intensive trade. Trade intensity is one of the cardinal principles for integration. Trade intensity. Fiscal transfers, how are they going to have fiscal transfer? Where do they have a bank, central bank, and whatnot? It's not easy. So I can foresee them crawling back proudly somehow.
Into ECOWAS?
Into ECOWAS.
We'll leave it here. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
He is the Dean and Director for Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Dr. Valdimir Antwi Danso. Keep watching GTV Breakfast. We'll be right back.